Guys, how do you get out of a creative funk? I think you gotta just start making things. You just gotta start making something. I think there's two solutions. One is you can just start making something and it's probably gonna suck and you're gonna feel like it sucks. So if that's gonna get you down, I don't recommend that. But if you start making something, sometimes it'll start to turn into something cool and you're like, oh, wait a second, I can kind of see. And then you start just, you get kind of pulled in. Give up. Give up, smile. I guess that would be option 3. Yeah, you could do that. You know what? Sometimes that does work, actually. If you just... okay, so there's 3 options. I know that you're being a silly goose, Tidge, but there are 3 options. So you can either... You can say, you know what, creative funk? I'm gonna face you head on. I don't care if I'm in a creative funk. I'm gonna create stuff anyway. Because the nice thing about creating is you don't need inspiration to create. You just gotta make yourself start moving. Just start schmoving. Hey, Tyler, welcome back. We haven't been on break yet. But we're gonna have to go in 3 minutes because this ad's going whether, like, I snoozed it as much as I can. So you got 3 options, right? You can double down and say, screw you, creative funk. I create when I want, and I am in a funk when I decide to be in a funk, and that is never, because why would I want that? And you can just keep pushing through and making stuff anyway. And then you'll either feel like crap, be like, ugh, everything I make sucks, and then you might be pushed to option 3. Or you might be like, oh, this is actually kind of all right. And then you get drawn in, and then you start hyper-focusing, and then you make something awesome, and then boom, the funk is gone, right? Option 2 is go and absorb things from other people. Go look for inspiration, because sometimes if you're in a creative funk, I think what it means... So, like, when you have this drive to make stuff, it's because you're like, the stuff that you like and the stuff that you want to make is really cool. And there's, like, this gap between, like, what you want to make and what you can make, right? And there's this gap, and you want to close that gap. So you're, like, working on your stuff to make it better and better and better. And then once you're making stuff that you're like, yeah, this is pretty good. After a while, you get bored of your own stuff. You're like, yeah, it's good, but, like, then that's where you got to start looking for more inspiration of stuff that's, like, a little bit higher level, and push yourself a little, look for more new ideas and things, and then you'll be like, oh, I want to make that. Might be a little bit out of my current range or whatever, but I'm going to try. And then you have something to push towards again, So if you go watch a movie or you play a game that's, like, really artistic or something, or get into a show that's really well written, or read some books or whatever, anything, to just get the inspiration back and get the juices flowing, then you start going. Or like Tidge said, you just give up. And that can work too, because sometimes you just need a break. You'd be like, you know what, fine, okay, all right, funk, you win. I'm gonna just not make stuff. And just don't worry about it for a bit. Don't try to force yourself. Just sit there, have things around, like, have a sketchbook around, or have a piano or guitar or something handy, or whatever your art is, right? Just have something around available. And then if the mood strikes you suddenly, you can just pick it up and boom, it's back. I think those are the 3 options. And one of those 3 things usually works for me. I think we need to take a break. This ad's going in like 40 seconds. But we can talk about that more when we get back. I think inspiration is a really interesting subject.